Hello everybody and welcome back to Fireside Chats with Farina. That's me. We're still here, we're talking about Mansfield Park in this episode still, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the elephant in the room of Mansfield Park. And while Jane does bring this up again later in Sanditon, which is her unfinished novel, later, we'll get to that later, this book really delves into human trafficking, slavery, the sugar trade, and where the money comes from. So, as you know, England is an island, and there was no slavery really happening on England at this time. There wasn't human enslavement at the time of the writing. Not to say that there wasn't human enslavement. Of course, we know that there was. But it wasn't happening on the island, but it was happening off island, and people were still definitely profiting from it. And in Mansfield Park, the Bertram family, that's what they do. They're not necessarily slavers. It's never said specifically. And what's fascinating is this idea, and this is what Jane is so brilliant about. This is where social commentary comes into place. This book. Fanny is this young girl, as we've said. She's pure, she's good, she asks questions, her heart is good. People like her or hate her because her heart is good. So she never, ever comes at anything with nefarious means. She's never trying to get you. There's never going to be like gotcha politics with Fanny Price. That's not a show that's going to happen. That's not a thing that she does. She genuinely just wants to understand it. So she doesn't know because, again, her parents are who her parents are, and she's being raised by her aunt and uncle. She has the other aunt who's being like mean and awful to her. And so it's almost like they're trying to keep her down, but she reads. And this is the power of words. And this is what Jane is talking about. Like, Fanny learns to read. They educate her, and when you educate her, the education continues, right? Fanny Price is the ultimate lifelong learner. We're all supposed to continue to learn. Just because school ends or college ends or university ends or master, whatever your highest level of education is, whether you never graduated from high school or you have a doctorate degree, you're not supposed to stop learning. And that Jane addresses that in this, right? Fanny Price continues to learn. She continues to ask questions. She knows what she doesn't know, and she's not embarrassed about not knowing things. And we shouldn't be embarrassed about knowing things. Another thing we can learn from the great Fanny Price is to say, I don't know. Say, I read this thing and I have a thought. I'm going to ask you a question. And so she questions their money. See, and the interesting thing is because she's kept from the money. So Jane sets us up in this really fascinating way by Aunt Norris putting her in the attic and sort of saying, well, like, we're going to take care of her, but we don't want to take care of her so well. We don't want her to feel special. We're not going to necessarily light her fire right away. She's maybe going to be cold up in the attic. We're not going to make sure she gets the best food or the best clothes or whatever. And so she's raised by rich people, but she's not rich. She's part of it, but she's separate. So she's questioning the money, not questioning the money like, what am I doing with this money? Because it's never hers. She doesn't actually have any of the money. But she's able to question, like, well, why do we live like this? How does this happen? How does Uncle Bertram do this? How do we take care of things? My aunt, Lady Bertram, is a bit of a drug addict, and she's got a dog. She maybe breeds pugs. And that's all she does. She seems to take a lot of naps. And so where's the money and how does it work? And we own Mansfield Village. Like, Mansfield Park is not just the city, but like Mansfield proper. There's like a whole city that they own, and people rent from them. So he's Atlanta. All these things, like all those things could make you money, but then he's gone all the time because of the sugar trade, which of course involves slavery, which involves human trafficking. And Fanny just asks the question. And the thing is the book doesn't really dig into it, but it leaves it to you, like there's this level of embarrassment that Sir Tom is. He doesn't want to talk about it, and his son Tom Jr. doesn't want to talk about it. But you can also argue that the reason Tom Jr. is such a mess up, and he is the person he is, and he's trying so desperately to do anything other than what his dad is doing, is because he too knows. He's been educated. He's went to school. He knows it's wrong, and so there's this like layer of guilt. He wants to carry on the family name. He wants to keep the family fortune together. But he also doesn't want to traffic in humans, right? Because that's gross. And so you could also look at Tom Jr. as a character who is broken and an addict and all of these other things, and he's desperate. Like there's this whole scene where he brings his buddy Yates in and they try to do a play, and he's always breaking his dad's rules, but not the big rules, right? Not the rules about like we're not going to traffic humans, but he's going to like have a play without asking. He's going to do wild and crazy things at the house when his dad's not there, because that's his way to rebel. It's a safe way to rebel because he's afraid too. He's also been raised to think this money is important, because it is. It's their livelihood. But also it's gross and it's tainted, and how do we do that, and how do we divest from it? And Tom doesn't know because his dad doesn't know because we don't know. And there's this whole thing, well, it's just what we learned from our family, and that's garbage, of course. That isn't how it is. And Fanny, again, is the perfect example of that, because if she was going to learn it from her parents, she'd be doing something totally different. So there's just this conversation about like educating yourself, asking questions, pushing against the family line. Meanwhile, also Jane commenting on like, we can ban slavery from England, but we still participate in it, so we're just as culpable. And that's just like right there, and she's just having the conversation and forcing people to deal with it. And again, in this book about a little girl who is lost, this is part of the story. And so this is one layer of the social commentary that comes into Mansfield Park, and I think it's one of the most important layers of social commentary in Mansfield Park. So always happy to hear what you think about the slavery issue that is sort of addressed. It's just over here. It's just out of reach, but it's there. That's the cool thing about Jane. She's always giving us enough to think about without beating us over the head with it. So that's what makes her amazing. So love to hear your thoughts. So join me next time here on Fireside Chats with A.R. Farina. We'll spend some more time talking about Mansfield Park. See you then.